Hello, hello. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I'm Lexi Eve, and welcome to another YouTube video talk about Liber ABA Book 4 Magick by Aleister Corwley. So today is going to be Chapter 4, Pratyahara. So let's begin this. In Sanskrit, Pratyahara means withdrawal of the senses, and Corwley identifies this practice as purely mental, calling it simply, quote, introspection. He writes, quote, asana having been mastered, all immediate exciting causes have been removed, and we are free to think what we are thinking about, end quote. Briefly switching from Book 4 to 8 lectures on yoga, we can get a grounded idea of how to practice Pratyahara. Quote, if you concentrate your attention upon one portion of the body, with the idea of investigating it, that is, I suppose, allowing the mind to move within very small limits, the whole of your consciousness becomes concentrated in that small part. I used to practice this a good deal in my retirement by Lake Pasquini. I would usually take a finger or a toe and identify my whole consciousness with the small movements which I allowed it to make. It would be futile to go into much detail about this experience. I can only say that until you acquire the power, you have no idea of the sheer wonder and delight of that endlessly quivering orgasm. If I remember rightly, this practice and its result were one of the principal factors which enabled me afterwards to attain what is called the trance of wonder, which pertains to the grade of a master of the temple, and is a sort of complete understanding of the organism of the universe, and an ecstatic adoration of its marvel, end quote. Now, in my opinion, this is so because you are minimizing the scope of your consciousness to a minute point, nearly analogous to Hadith consciousness, but on a much lower scale. In Liber Yod, there is something similar in the practice outlined in the second method. Also, if you follow the link in the description to my video lecture titled Episode 2, Psychic Vampirism and Energy Manipulation, I outline how to perform a body scan. This, I believe to be a great prerequisite to practicing Pratyahara if you are new to such things, and it may save you quite a bit of time. As I spoke about in my video on asana, just by simple meditation, let alone practicing stillness of body, you may get glimpses of a state of being where one or more senses have tuned out or blacked out completely. In Pratyahara, you can work towards consciously withdrawing from your senses. In the description below, I have linked an article with 5 beginner practices, each working on one of the 5 senses. Corwley forewarns that, quote, a very similar experience to that of asana is in store for us. As soon as the body was accurately observed, it was found to be terribly restless and painful. Now that we observe the mind, it is seen to be more restless and painful still, end quote. Through various Class B and D texts written by Corwley for students of Thelema, there are many practices which revolve around controlling thought. Not in the way that Dharana, as outlined in Liber ABA I, teaches one to control the mind by creating the image of a simple colored shape in one's mind and maintaining it perfectly in size without it glitching soever. No, I mean controlling what you allow your mind to think and focus upon. Just having the discipline to go through your day performing your routine, while simultaneously remembering that you are also doing mental training by analyzing each and every thought that arises, is a feat worth praise, let alone actually making progress in this discipline. If you find this mental juggling difficult, I strongly recommend performing Liber Jugorum. It is a punishment-based practice, but it does yield fruit. Corwley reminds us in this chapter of the trap of the mind when undergoing such practices, quote, when the unsuspecting pupil first approaches his holy but wily guru and demands magical powers, that wise one replies that he will confer them, points out with much caution and secrecy some particular spot on the pupil's body which has never previously attracted his attention, and says, in order to obtain this magical power which you seek, all that is necessary is to wash 7 times in the Ganges during 7 days, being particularly careful to avoid thinking of that one spot. Of course, the unhappy youth spends a disgusted week in thinking of little else. It is positively amazing with what persistence a thought, even a whole train of thoughts, returns again and again to the charge. It becomes a positive nightmare. It is intensely annoying, too, to find that one does not become conscious that one has got onto the forbidden subject until one has gone right through with it. However, one continues day after day, investigating thoughts and trying to check them, and sooner or later one proceeds to the next stage, dharana, the attempt to restrain the mind to a single object." End quote. Now, because this is a mental practice, and therefore there is no externally observational way to prove to anybody other than the one practicing whether or not they are doing it correctly, it is of paramount importance that the practitioner be honest with themselves, or if they have a teacher, with them too. When you do begin to make progress in Pratyahara, and are in fact controlling your mind, what does success produce? Corwley answers this question by writing, quote, "The main point is to acquire some sort of inhibitory power over the thoughts. In some people, this inhibitory power may flower suddenly in very much the same way as occurred with asana. Quite without any relaxation of vigilance, the mind will suddenly be stilled. There will be a marvelous feeling of peace and rest, quite different from the lethargic feeling which is produced by overeating. It is difficult to say whether so definite a result will come to all, or even to most people. The matter is one of no great importance. If you have acquired the power of checking the rise of thought, you may proceed on to the next stage." End quote. I will first add to this that by achieving success in mental practices, as I've outlined in this video, you should immediately be able to differentiate thoughts and emotions that are either not in conformity with doing your will or are just plain distractions. Mental calm is still the goal, as is what the Buddhists call detachment. If you are familiar with the Tao, then it is like the ability to go about your business without succumbing to the pitfalls of Maya. Doing whatever it is you need to be doing this incarnation, with the understanding that it is exactly what you should be doing. Yes, as a human we will always have emotions, and the mind, no matter how disciplined, will at least once in a while have random thoughts, but you will know how not to be distracted by such things, and certainly never be crippled by them. You should become aware of the energies underlying existence, so in tune with them that you can ride the current in perfect harmony. Love is the law, love under will. That's our video today, and we'll see you in the next one. Later on.